What's going on YouTube? JT's Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Night Terrors, Night's End, issue number 1. We're finally here. We are finally at the end of this Night Terrors event. What is this, 47 issues into this event? Yes, I'm going to be counting that Free Comic Book Day issue as kind of the prelude to the event. But yes, we are finally done. Sweet mercy, this was exhausting. And even then, the conclusion is kind of just one of those things where things sort of get wrapped up, but it's also like, here, let's set the stage for the next event. And I'm like, no, why can't we have something that feels kind of conclusive and then maybe build up to something else? But no, it's like, it kind of just ends saying, here, check out this event and check out this event. And I'm like, oh, I don't want another event so soon. 40 whatever issues of this thing is just kind of enough. But anyways, let's talk about this thing, how it concludes, and whether it really was the most satisfying thing. Maybe you can tell by the tone. I just was like, yeah, it was kind of just all right, all things considered. Didn't think it was the worst thing in existence, but after 40-something issues for a single comic book event that goes 2 months to kind of get to the conclusion of this thing, you didn't need all those tie-ins. Like, you could have just throw most of those away, make this a quick little like 6-issue miniseries by Williamson, and then you'd be good to go. Like, that's it. That's all you really need. A lot of those other tie-ins that we thought were going to lead to something in here didn't really lead to anything at all. Remember when we had the punchline thing where it's like, oh, it seems like this is going to pay off in this? No, it doesn't lead to anything at all in this event. So much of those like little tie-ins felt really irrelevant. So I feel like I've been duped. I've been conned in a way. But hey, you know what? Until you read all the issues, you don't know for sure. So anyways, let's quickly summarize what happens in here. Also, yes, there is another issue which I'll be covering right after this one, which is Batman, Catwoman, the Gotham War, which I do have some thoughts to say about that particular issue. So anyways, so in the previous issue, Night Terrors, issue number 4, even though that's like however many issues into this event that is, basically Insomnia was given possession of the Nightmare Stone thanks to Deadman, who thought, oh, I could use the stone on you, but he took it over, and now like all these different nightmares are making their way into the waking world, and now children in that all around are seeing the Justice League as part of their nightmares. And that's basically Insomnia's plan. He's like, hey, look, yo, I'm gonna make you all see you guys as the real villains of this whole situation so that people become afraid of you. And that's ultimately kind of what the ending of the issue kind of leads about. But anyway, so Insomnia is doing his thing, and then he's like, hey, you know, since you helped me get this thing, here, let me give you back your family as like Deadman family. And Deadman kind of falls for this for briefly before he's like, you know what, wait a minute, this isn't the real deal. This is just kind of a made-up bit of a crap, if you will. So eventually, like I said, the heroes in that, they're facing off against Insomnia. They make their way to the Hall of Justice, where a lot of this stuff kind of started, where John D is at, and they grab the Dream Stone as a means to kind of counteract the power of the Nightmare Stone. Why nobody thought of this beforehand is beyond me. And eventually Wesley Dodd kind of like takes control of it. They do battle with Insomnia. There is some really good looking artwork in here, although I think having however many artists they had on this particular issue, like some of the art is kind of inconsistent in terms of style and that, and sometimes the different styles can work. When I talked about that Harley Quinn Night Terrors issue from last week, where they did the kind of like where they changed the art style when they went to that kind of like throwback comic book thing, I think it works in that regards, but kind of having it mesh throughout the entire issue makes it feel a little bit off a little bit in my eyes. But I guess since it is kind of a nightmarish themed comic book, he can kind of play around with it a little bit. But anyway, so they go toe-to-toe with Insomnia, Deadman, and that, and basically by the end of it, Deadman's like, you know what, I've kind of been in the afterlife, kind of like wandering the planet for the longest time. I kind of want to just have a peaceful death, if you will. So yeah, he kind of does that, and then Insomnia ends up in his own little nightmare where he thinks he's reunited with his family, but his family is there to kind of drag him to hell, if you will. Also, if you're wondering what happened to the Nightmare Stone, apparently it kind of disappears in this thing, but don't worry, it gets taken by Amanda Waller's new goons, so there's that. But anyway, so the problem seems to be solved. The Dreamstone is kind of taken back in its place. Wesley Dodd is kind of put back in his grave to kind of nap. So it's kind of reminiscent. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but like Hocus Pocus. Basically, after the whole stuff with the Sanderson sisters fiasco is done, they're like, all right, why don't you just go back to your grave again, Billy? And they're like, okay, here. That's kind of what happens with Wesley Dodd here. And then Batman, due to his extreme exhaustion from everything that's been going on, Batman's been possessed by so many things in recent months. He was possessed by Neza. He's been possessed by Deadman. And then you have the Batman of Zur-Anah that's taken over him. Like, he's reached peak exhaustion. And then he pretty much takes a little cat nap, which, if you read the next issue in this whole kind of, like, basically from the Batman Catwoman Gotham War events, like, you find out that Batman's been out of commission for like 8 weeks and this thing. So 2 months of Batman asleep is kind of where things are at. So, like, as we were led to believe. And then again, after this, they kind of talk about things. Hey, I'm going to lead into my next storyline, which is Supercorp. And then Wonder Woman's like, yeah, something going on with some legislation against the Amazons that'll be picked up in the Tom King thing. Mr. Terrific's going to be looking for Red Tornado. And then you have this image at the end of the issue of these little kids who are terrified of the Justice League now. They're like, they're too scary for me, so I'm going to throw them in the dumpster right here. And then also Amanda Waller is now, like, now that the Justice League is seen as evil or whatever, the heroes are kind of out of commission. She's going to use this to kind of take advantage of the situation. And basically she's going to target the Titans next. But in the meantime, while all that chaos was going on with Deadman and the Nightmare Stone and all that, one of her villains, if you will, Bright or whatever, managed to steal the Nightmare Stone because the Justice League, I guess, weren't paying attention. And they also took the Helmet of Hate, if you will, and they're going to combine this power into whoever this guy is, or she or whatever, and they're becoming like the next big threat known as Dr. Hate. So yeah, and also to be continued in Beast World. So that's the next little big event that DC has going on, which we talked about beforehand. So Amanda Waller is doing her shtick or whatever. So in terms of a conclusion, I thought Night Terrors just kind of went out with a bit of a whimper, if you will. It didn't feel fully satisfying in terms of an event. I mean, I read like 40-something issue, like 47, 48 issues or whatever of this entire event. And, like, by the end of it, like, that's the big grand conclusion. Like, why didn't nobody go for this, the Dreamstone beforehand as a means to stop it? But I don't know, maybe they had to find the Nightmare Stone or whatever first. But, yeah, like I said, I just felt like this kind of went a little bit underwhelming. Also, Insomnia's thing about, like, so he brings back, like, Deadman's, family, if you will, as kind of this manifestation thing, but he's also, like, missing his family. Why doesn't he just kind of bring his family back or whatever in this thing, kind of a happier sense? But no, he wants the Justice League to seem like the villains or whatever, like the world to see them for what they are, even though, as we found out beforehand, they warned him and his family to get the hell out of the city due to, like, the devastation that's causing. They told everyone to evacuate, but he was still, like, really stupid. And even then, like, that wasn't fully explored enough. Like, we didn't actually see a Justice League member attack or take down his house or anything like that. Like, it just kind of was like some random collateral damage caused by something. We never really fully got a clear image of, like, who caused it or something like that in order to really fully grasp this personal vendetta as much as I think the story wanted us to see. So, yeah, there is some nice looking artwork in here, and at the end of the day, I am relieved that this event is over. Like I said, this thing has been a big, huge 2-month, like, beast of an event I've been covering. It's easily the biggest thing I ever had to cover in terms of a comic book event on this channel. I made it a mission to get through the entire thing, and I do feel relieved that it's finally over and that we can kind of move into the next direction. Most of the tie-ins felt entirely pointless and didn't really do much to kind of set things up or for the final issue, if you will. Like I said, if you wanted the main stuff, just read the Williamson stuff. The rest of the stuff you can skip entirely, and you're not going to really miss much. Yeah, there's some fun stuff there. The Zatanna one had some fun with it. The Rose Wilson one was kind of interesting in some ways. And the Detective Comics one felt like a true Hellraiser horror thing, but it didn't really, like, lead into much in terms of this event. It just felt like an excuse to have various nightmares with various characters in DC Comics. Some of the stuff, like the Catwoman one, felt like it was more setting the stage for the Gotham War event with some of the stuff going on with Selina. So, like, some issues kind of felt more in tune with the runs that were going on, but they didn't really do much to kind of build or add up to this conclusion in Night Terrors. Like, I mean, for instance, I covered, like, that Titans issue from last week. Where were the Titans really in terms of major players in this issue? They weren't. Or what about Shazam? That was supposed to pick up, but it's like none of the characters really showed up in this thing, at least that I could see. Maybe they were like a background character for all I know. Like I said, it just felt like so many of these issues just kind of led to really nothing. It felt like a bit of an underwhelming conclusion, if you will. And then you have the Sleepless Nights, who are just kind of like didn't really do much, all things considered. But basically, like I said, what this event was basically doing was to have this big overblown event, which is going to lead to another event, which is going to lead to another event. So events never really feel like they have a big, strong conclusion. Like, I mean, after 40-something issues, I felt like that was it. Like, I felt like the end game of this whole thing was to make the world fear the Justice League and to kind of gain more power for Amanda Waller. That's kind of it. And there's also some setting the stage for this next mini event with Batman and Catwoman, which I'll get into like after this video. But yeah, like I said, all things considered, well, maybe they did appear in the background here, but they weren't really much of a plot in terms of like Shazam and some of these other characters showing up. But yeah, I just feel like we could have been a little bit better with this overall event. I just felt a little bit kind of whelmed. There's some cool bits in here, but it ultimately just felt kind of underwhelming in terms of the big conclusion. I mean, after 40-something issues, you better have like the most amazing climax. And in reality, it really was just kind of all right, all things considered. I think this wouldn't, I wouldn't feel this way if it weren't 47 issues or 46 or however many issues in this event. I think if they just stuck to a bit of a mini-series with Williamson, make it like 6 issues or whatnot, I think we'd be better off, because you didn't need all those tie-ins. You could have just let the other titles go on normally like before. A lot of them didn't really build up to anything of value within this final issue anyways, so you really could have just omitted so many of them. Like, did we really need Night Terror's Poison Ivy? Like, what did that add to this event? Even the Detective Comics one, as much as I enjoyed the Hellraiser aspect of it, what did it really lead into in terms of Night Terror's Night's End? Nothing. It just felt like a random side story. Or the Catwoman one, what did it really lead to in Night Terror's Night's End? You see what I'm getting at? Like, so many of these, or the Joker one. The Joker is the most pointless one of all. Like, he just wakes up and it's like, okay. Or the Robin one. Yeah, I forgot about that one too. What did that lead to in Night Terror's Night's End? What did it really add with Insomnia in that? Nothing. You see what I mean? So, just too many issues for one singular event. I hope DC takes a hiatus from events, but that's not really going to happen, because we're getting a little event here with Batman and Catwoman, which, to be fair, is only like 8 issues. And after covering like this entire Night Terrors event, that's like 1 week total. So they're at least spacing that out, and like they're taking over some of the main titles anyway. So it's like, okay, it's not as much, or it's not as bad. And then they're going to move into like the Beast World event. So hopefully once we get through December, event break for a little while. I've had too many. I think we need to take a few months off, like kind of focus on the smaller, more character-focused stories for a bit, and then you can go into a new event, because after 2 months of this, I think it just was a bit too much. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like I kind of didn't really need to read all those other issues, because like by the end of it, I was just like, I'm kind of checked out. So yeah, but thoughts are kind of scattershot, but again, after reading so many issues, I just felt like this ending felt really kind of underwhelming. So, but hey, that's just me. If you have any particular thoughts on this issue or the event as a whole, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your thoughts in the be sure to like this video, post your comments down below, share this video with your friends, all that other fun stuff. My thoughts are kind of scattershot at this point. I've been rambling on long enough, and I'm just kind of glad that Night Terrors is finally over. If this was only like 6 issues or something like that, it wouldn't be half bad. But the fact that they oversaturated this event with as many times as they did, that ultimately like kind of led to nowhere, I feel like I've been kind of duped, if you will. You could have cut out those titles at least by half, and it still would have been too much. So yeah, Night Terrors was kind of like not the worst event in existence. I don't think there was anything I totally hated, but for as many issues as you had in this thing, you didn't really need all that. Like, trim all that just keep the essentials, and I think we'd be okay overall. It wouldn't be like, it'd still be, like I said, a lot of issues to kind of get to like one specific thing, but it wouldn't be that bad. So just too much, too much. That's the problem. Night Terrors, way too much. And I think anybody who's a consumer is like, okay, that's a bit excessive. So yeah, just too much excess and not enough, like, you know, whatever. So yeah, all right, well, I've rambled on long enough. Post your comments down below. Be sure to come back next time, as I'm going to cover the Batman Catwoman Gotham War prelude issue, or whatever it's called, and then that'll be it in terms of DC comic books for the week. So yeah, this is gonna be a nice easy week for it, so I'm looking forward to that. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.